And, glad you could, glad we get together again with each other in this way. Better than nothing. Uh, what I'd like to look at today and have us think and ponder and pray about is something that the 12 steps kind of hint at it, and it comes out a lot in the literature. Uh, you know how often they talk about the fellowship, the importance of the fellowship. Uh, and even as close as we get explicitly to it that I can find in the 12 steps is the one where in the fifth step, hang on a second, let's see if I can call this up on the screen. There, oops, one more time here, sorry. Yeah, fifth step, uh, where it says, we admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. Well, you look at how it's, hang on a second, let me get this working. There we go. It says there, we are taking something deep inside us, something real close to the core of our being. My wrongs, the stuff where I messed up, the stuff where I can't defend myself, or is stuff that's not justifiable. And I'm finding somebody I can admit that to. That's a big step. You think about it. And you think why it's so necessary. We have kept our deepest hopes, our deepest fears, our deepest selves to ourselves. Sometimes not even admitting our deepest stuff to ourselves, trying to defend ourselves to ourselves rather than admit the truth. Well, here we're taking the step of believing that there is somebody, that there's more than one somebody trustworthy enough that I can open up and let the deepest stuff I have, let it out, and take the risk of seeing what happens when I entrust those innermost things of myself to another human being and to God. Now, I want to look with you at something from the Bible that a friend of mine pointed out to me the other day. It comes from 2 Kings chapter 4. It's a story of a woman who had some, like all of us, she had hopes, she had fears, she had anger, she had grief, and looking at how she found people, and she found a God that she could open up about her innermost stuff with, and what happened. Go back to sharing the screen again and share. Okay. The story comes from, oops, let me get right there. Okay, there we are. 2 Kings chapter 4, verses 8 through 37. This is Elisha is the prophet, the big head prophet in Israel now. Elijah has gone to heaven. And all those miracles that started with Elijah, they just keep going. And he apparently had a circuit that he'd ride, or travel and visit and do his pastoral and prophetic things. Well, here's where this story comes in, starting at chapter 4, verse 8. One day, Elisha went to Shunem, and a well-to-do woman was there who urged him to stay for a meal. So whenever he came by, he stopped there to eat. She said to her husband, I know this man who often comes our way is a holy man of God. Let's make a small room for him on the roof and put in a bed and table and a chair and a lamp, and then he can stay there whenever he comes to us. One day, when Elisha came, he went up to his room, lay down there, and he said to his servant, Gehazi, call the Shunammite. So he called her, and she stood before him, and Elisha said to him, tell her, you have gone to all this trouble for us. Now, what can be done for you? Can we speak on your behalf to the king or the commander of the army? She replied, I have a home among my own people. What can be done for her? Elisha asked. Gehazi said, she has no son and her husband's old. Then Elisha said, call her. So he called her, and she stood in the doorway. About this time next year, Elisha said, you will hold a son in your arms. Oh, my Lord, she objected. Please, man of God, don't mislead your servant. Now, you see what's happening there already. She has hopes. She has this inner heartbreak. She doesn't have a child. She's resigned herself to be childless, and now it's like, don't get my hopes up. Can I trust you? That's the question. Can I trust you with this deep part of me? Well, let's see. Hang on a second. There we are. But the woman became pregnant, and the next year, about that same time, she gave birth to a son, just as Elisha had told her. The child grew, and one day he went out to his father, who was with the reapers, and he said to his father, oh, my head, my head. His father told the servant, carry him to his mother. After the servant had lifted him up and carried him to his mother, the boy sat on her lap until noon, and then he died. She went up and laid him on the bed of the man of God, then shut the door and went out. She called her husband and said, please send me one of the servants and a donkey so I can go to the man of God quickly and return. Why go to him today? He asked. It's not the new moon or the Sabbath. That's all right, she said. Okay, now look, she's obviously got grief. She's got some very deep things going, but she can't even trust her husband with what's going on in her. She's making some choices about who she can trust with her innermost fears, anger, hopes, grief. She saddled the donkey and said to her servant, lead on, don't slow down for me unless I tell you. So she set out and came to the man of God at Mount Carmel. When he saw her in the distance, the man of God said to his servant Gehazi, look, there's the Shunammite. Run to meet her and ask her, are you all right? Is your husband all right? Is your child all right? Everything is all right, she said. When she reached the man of God at the mountain, she took hold of his feet. Gehazi came over to push her away, but the man of God said, leave her alone. She's in bitter distress, but the Lord has hidden it from me and has not told me why. Did I ask you for a son, my Lord? She said. Didn't I tell you, don't raise my hopes? Okay, finally she could let it out. She had somebody that she could trust with her grief and her anger and her rage and her disappointment. You can see she didn't even pretty it up. She had somebody that she could trust so much that she didn't have to say, well, I know I shouldn't feel this way or anything like that. She just let it rip. I asked you not to raise my hopes or raise my hopes, and now what? Okay, so far so good, except her heart is still broken, but she's got somebody she can reveal her broken heart to. And well, Elisha now, he's got a stake in this. His heart is broken too. Elisha said to Gehazi, tuck your cloak into your belt, take my staff in your hand and run. Don't greet anybody you meet, and if anyone greets you, do not answer. Lay my staff in the boy's face. The child's mother said, as surely as the Lord lives and as you live, I will not leave you. So he got up and followed her. Gehazi went on ahead and laid the staff in the boy's face, but there was no sound or response. So Gehazi went back to meet Elisha and told him the boy is not awakened. When Elisha reached the house, there was the boy lying dead on the couch. So heartbreak goes on. Heartbreak happens. It's not, sometimes we have to live with it for a while at least. Can we trust God with a heartbreak? Well, this story goes on this way. When he went in, shut the door on the two of them, and prayed to the Lord. Then he got on the bed and lay on the boy, mouth to mouth, eyes to eyes, hands to hands. As he stretched himself out to him, the boy's body grew warm. Elisha turned away and walked back and forth in the room, and then got on the bed and stretched out on him once more. The boy sneezed 7 times and opened his eyes. Elisha summoned Gehazi and said, call the Shunammite. And he did. When she came, he said, take your son. She came in, fell at his feet, and bowed to the ground. Then she took her son and went out. I love how God shows us this example. Somebody who she desperately needed to open up to somebody about her innermost grief, her innermost hope, her innermost fears. And well, she did have somebody like that. She had the wisdom to hold it in. I'm not going to burden anybody with this that I can't trust with it. And it's not just I can't trust them that they'll hurt my feelings or anything like that, but I can't trust. Maybe I don't want to hurt them either. You know, sometimes you got to pick and choose who you tell your pain to because you don't want to traumatize them. Can they handle it? What I say to them, can they handle it? It's a question that needs to be asked. Well, she wasn't sure if her husband could handle it, but she knew Elisha could, and so she just let it rip with him. And by extension, I believe she was saying, and I can trust God. I can trust him with my anger, with my disappointment, with my fears. And well, God doesn't let us down. In the story, you saw a couple of times she told her husband, and then she told Gehazi, it's okay, everything's all right. Now that wasn't really lying. And obviously everything wasn't all right. Her son was dead. Her heart was broken. Her hopes were completely destroyed. But she wasn't lying. Everything is all right because I believe she trusted that somehow God had her inmost hopes that he was still taking care of and that he would continue to show up in some way. Now, that's what we got to trust God with, I believe, to trust that when I give him my inmost hopes, my inmost fears, my shame, my resentment, whatever I've got, when I give that to him, somehow he's going to make it okay. It's going to be all right. Even when I'm grieving, even when somebody's dead and I have no reason at all to believe that God is going to raise him from the dead here in any time in the near future, to believe, yeah, but he will. It might be after we're both dead, but he will. To trust that God, that when I give God my heart, he's going to take care of my heart. Even if it's a broken heart, he's going to take care of that heart. I believe we got to take that risk. Otherwise, what's the alternative? We're going to go on trying to protect ourselves, trying to cover up the truth about what we're really feeling and make ourselves sicker and sicker. I think God's got a better plan for us, to take that risk of seeing what will happen when we entrust our deepest selves to someone who loves us. I hope and pray that this week you have people like that you can trust. I hope that you're learning to trust yourself with the truth. And I hope above all, we're all learning to trust God with the real truth about what we're feeling, what we're hoping, what we're angry about, and what we'd like to see happen. And even when we can't see it happening anytime in the future, even when we have no hope that things are going to straighten out right here and now, to hope that, but it will happen. Like this woman said to her husband, like she had said to Gehazi, it's all right. It really is. We have God who loves us. It is all right. Well, hope to see you soon. Hope to connect soon. Hope to connect in real life real soon.